Hi traders, welcome to wrap up of Tuesday, 1st of November. So start today with definitely a downside bias. When you look at the pre-market and also the previous day, the market had sold off quite a bit. It pulled back a good 40, 50 plus points. So the market just doesn't do that for any old reason. And it looked like the sellers really wanted to come back and take over a bit of that ground that the buyers have been making over the last week or two. So pre-market was down. The moving average was definitely pointing down as we approached the open, and we had this massive sell candle here right at the start, so it looked like the sellers were definitely in town. Then all of a sudden, it just turned around on the spot, and the buyers out of nowhere just started pushing the market up, and all of a sudden started to turn all the 5-minute signals back around to the upside. So tough, I guess, at any stage here to really try and get on anything here. If it's going against, or my personal perception is going against me definitely, so when all of a sudden it throws a bit of a curveball actually like that, it's a little bit difficult. But it started to push and pushed well, and it pulled back, and then once it pulled back, it continued to push back up above even this little bit of a resistant area here, so definitely indication that the buyers around weren't giving the sellers a chance. Then also we had a news candle that sold off quite quickly, but then buyers came straight back in. So you can see there pushing back up higher. So this is definitely indication buyers were around for the morning. Overall, a tough day, I suppose, because of when you looked at the dome, each level had only 400 to 600 contracts most of the day. So the dome was flicking around quite quickly with short stop outs. It's very tough in those conditions. You like to see 1,000 plus contracts on each level. So with that in mind, the market was pushing through levels quite easily. So then the market had a pullback, which is definitely what it needed. So this pullback here, so then you can either look for the sellers that come in like we thought they would, or maybe after this pullback, get back on and have a look at trying to go back and make higher highs. So I guess this power point here was a bit of a decision area for them. If the sellers are really strong, they're going to hold it up here and push back down. And then they pushed through. Looked like the buyers might have been around, but then not long after pushing through that power point, started to sell off again. So definitely an indication that sellers were coming in once it broke this area here. So this is a really strong support area for the buyers. That's kind of like their last holding on the day. It's broken through that quite easily there and pushed down. So that's definitely an indication now that the sellers were around. I guess these power fades here, this power fade here would have worked. But a bit of a gutsy one because you had to be breaking this support level here. But once it did break that, like I said, it was going to push down. So definitely looking at sells down here. It pushed through that that yellow quite easily. Let's come down here. So now we're approaching lunchtime here, so then it started to move a little bit sideways. We had our first 5-minute signal, which I'll bring up, which failed. It was around about this area here, which I'll bring up on the chart soon. Then we had another 5-minute signal over here. But pretty much through the lunch period, the market's pushed sideways. Even though it's lunchtime and pushing sideways, it was pushing through quite erratically. So a lot of these levels weren't holding up. The market was just bouncing around all over the shop and making it very difficult. So we pulled back and started head back towards the lows here. So this is an area where I thought maybe the market could push down, and remembering that the daily bias was on the downside, so an area looking if it broke down past this area here, so this that maybe the sellers would continue on, really have a go at afternoon and pushing it lower. But in the end, it's held up 3 times there. You can see there's basically a triple bottom, 1, 2, 3, and then come back. And in fact, it's tried to break 3 times, and all of a sudden, this could have been an area to start to push the market up. But would have been a tough power fade to take because this happened very quickly. All of a sudden, a whole heap of news came into the market. You can see there it's pushed the market up really quickly. From there, it was once the market pushes up like that, you've got to be waiting anywhere from 15 to 30 onwards minute just till the market settled down. So all this stage here, we got 3 points plus candles, so you just can't trade it. So I guess you can see about here the market started to settle down a bit, and all of a sudden you're back into those 1 to 2 point candles, which we like to see. We had another 5-minute buy here. It was actually a fade signal, so you bought this particular one. It came right in line with the green power point supporting it on the upside. So not a bad area there to be looking at as far as pushing the market up. It was in line with the 5-minute trade, which is always a good thing. So it went up, just made new cash highs, and once again after making those cash highs, rather than going on with it, it sold off again. The sellers ran on the daily, so they pushed the market back down again, and from there, I mean, the market was really quite volatile again, and it's pretty much the story of the whole day. You can see lots of power points being hit here, but really tough to take advantage of any of these because of our tight stop outs. I mean, I found myself sitting here when I was looking for trades, just not knowing really what to do. The market wasn't showing any real consistent form, and it was moving around quite erratically. So in those kind of stages, when it's doing things like that, I guess it's best to stay away. So it was hard to have any specific idea of what the market was going to do. Righto, so we just got the 5-minute signals here. So it's actually 4. 3 out of the 4 didn't work. It's worth noting that out of the last 11 signals, so over the last 4 or 5 days, we only actually had 2 signals work as is. So 2 out of 11, not real good odds. But before that, we found the 5-minute trade working quite often. So that's a good example of, it will go through patches where it's working really well and then patches where it doesn't tend to work. But overall, we keep an eye on this 5-minute chart, not necessarily specifically for the 5-minute trades. A lot of people do take 5-minute trades, but we use this more as an indicator to keep an overall view of what the market's doing. You can see, you can notice, even though the 1-minute chart, there's a lot of noise, a lot of erratic movements, this 5-minute chart tends to smooth it out and give it a little bit more clarity and help us understand where the market's going. You can see the trends a little bit more clearly. So this one here, this particular first signal here, this was a fade to the downside. Fade to the downside, so it was an area where possibly the market could have gone down and made lower lows. Had a bit of a look at it. It was during lunchtime, so it's always tough during lunch, but as you're looking at the signal, there was a lot of green on all the other indices, so an area you just want to leave, and you can see it ended up pushing through it quite easily. So one that you definitely want to leave because of all the other indices. Then we came down to this signal here, so this is a sell signal, a little bit of a better setup. It's looking to push lower and make lower lows. It's going with the overall daily setup, so not a bad area. But when the signal came, the entry was quite poor. It already pushed through the power point and had an extended candle, so it would have been stopped out because it's going to get a pullback, even though then the market pushed down lower. So this one you're best off getting in a little bit earlier and taking it when you got that power fade entry. So you can see it's the right area. Just by the time the entry came, it was a little bit late. So definitely an opportunity to take that power fade earlier on, and you would have got a couple of points out of that. No worries at all. And then moving up here, we had a 5-minute fade to the buy side up here. So this is the one that corresponded with the green power point really nicely on the 1-minute chart. So even though the markets were quite erratic, this is a good area to be pushing to make higher highs. And then a 4th and final signal here, which looking at the moving average line there, it doesn't know really what it wants to do. It's down, then it's up. It came, went in very erratic moving markets, getting towards the end of the day. Just one I personally just didn't really know what it was going to do, so I left it alone, definitely. So anyway, that's a wrap up for Tuesday.